Welcome to Asian Pacific Voices Radio, where you'll find stimulating conversations around diverse topics and stories that impact our Asian Pacific American communities. I'm your host, Rasha Goal, and today I am so excited and thrilled to be talking to someone who I have just seen grow in this industry and who's made some pivotal changes. A visionary Filipino-American PR and marketing executive, a film producer and Broadway producer who has been a driving force in amplifying underrepresented voices in the entertainment industry. As the founder of Tremendous Communications, my guest has spearheaded campaigns that have not only elevated the visibility of Asian Pacific Americans, but have also redefined how diverse stories are told in film, television, and on the Broadway stage. It is my pleasure to welcome Jeremiah Abraham on Asian Pacific Voices Radio. Thanks for joining us, Jeremiah.
Hello, what a great intro. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure. And it's been so much fun because I have firsthand witnessed a lot of these changes that you have made and just what we've seen in the industry. So I want to jump into asking you right away, what inspired you to create or start Tremendous Communications, and it led you to becoming a key player in both the entertainment and public relations industries?
Yeah. Well, look, quite honestly, I'm inspired by people like you. Do you remember when we first met during one of my HBO Visionaries campaigns? And I was like, who is this person with so much great energy? You gave me such positivity. You made me feel very welcome when I started really, really working in this community. So folks like you who want to also make a difference, who are really inspiring, made me want to start this, because I've been in entertainment for about 20 years now, working across different studios, Disney, Warner Brothers, and then moving to New York and just trying to start my life here. And I noticed that there was a lot of need for more active and vocal champions for AAPIs in entertainment. Usually there's nobody from our communities in these decision-making rooms. There's usually other folks making decisions on our behalf, representing our cultures on our behalf. So I wanted to start Tremendous to ensure that we do have a seat at that table and actually being loud, being seen, being visible with what we want and what we deserve in Hollywood. So that's why we're here.
And I love that, Jeremiah. And I think that we have seen some changes and we have seen those steps, but I do feel like it's ongoing work. I feel like it's continuous, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it's not one thing, it's another. And we're always building on top of the work that we've done in the past, what other people have done. And, there is a lot more work to be done because Hollywood still is not 100% inclusive or representative. So while we have really great movies like Crazy Rich Asians and Everything Everywhere All at Once, they're still building blocks to where we should be, where we want to be, right?
Right. Well, let's talk about that. What challenges have you personally faced in ensuring that these voices are heard, these stories are seen, and how have you overcome them? Because I know you've seen and experienced a lot yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of educating the folks who historically have had these decision-making efforts, right? In terms of how we're being represented and how much we're being invested in as audiences and as a community. Because a lot of times when these studios see us as AAPIs, they see us as one big group, and we always say we're not a monolith. And so that's one of the things that's one of the challenges that I always have to face is that, for example, like, yes, Asian Americans have similar experiences, similar diasporas, but South Asian is different from Southeast Asian and East Asian and all these different things. And so that's that level of specificity and diversity is something that we always face every day. And also, as a producer as well, it's always trying to find these opportunities for us to shine through and actually finding these studios and folks who want to invest in pushing and amplifying our stories. because sometimes, obviously, if it's a new story that you haven't really seen like a Filipino American be part of before, folks might be hesitant to invest in it or to distribute it across like different theaters because they don't know. And so ultimately it comes down to money, right? Ultimately it comes down to proving ourselves in this economy. And that's the challenge that we face every day as both producers, filmmakers, publicists, marketers, whatever it is. It's always trying to redirect funds so we can actually be seen and be amplified. Because obviously nothing's for free. So
Right.
yeah,
Well,
that's what it is.
and I think what's been great is recently a lot of people have been very adamant in their research. So we are
Mm-hmm.
starting to see who are the audiences that are even coming in to watch the Hollywood blockbusters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And why they matter. And then go another level deeper on the stories
Yeah.
that are from our communities and how those are impacting people. But I do want to just add in there too, Jeremiah. It's easy for us to sit here and say, yes, you're showing up to the table and you're educating. But let's even talk about knocking down that door, I'm sure, too. It's not
Yeah.
easy. It's like getting a seat even at the table to say, hey, let me educate you. It's
Yeah.
not like it's a walk in the park, you know?
No, and quite frankly, I feel very privileged and lucky to be in this position where studios and executives and these folks who are greenlighting things are seeking out Tremendous's expertise and advice in terms of how to properly and authentically navigate through AAPI. Because yes, it's not easy to get a seat at that table, and I've been trying to build my seat for the last 2 decades, right?
Yeah.
And so it's taken me this long in order to get to this place. And so I want to make sure that I'm using my voice and this privilege and this trust that I have at these studios to represent us properly. So I'm glad that you asked that because not everybody can and wants to. And it's perfectly fine to just enjoy a film by buying a ticket and watching it and be entertained. That's cool. Like that's cool. But yes, it takes a lot of efforts and a lot of trust building to be here.
Absolutely. And in talking about that too, with the trust building and clients, so what do you consider when you decide to take on a new client or project?
Yeah, I mean that's really nuanced. But it's interesting because Tremendous is an agency and a for-profit company, but a lot of times we operate as we have some nonprofit tendencies, right? And we have a bunch of filters. So we're not just taking on projects because of the money. Like yes, a check could be really big or nice, but if, for example, we feel that a project is not uplifting or valuing our communities in the way that it needs to be or respected, we'll work with the studio to say, hey, look, like here are some red flags. Can you address them, or like what do you think about it? And sometimes we do have to reject some projects because it's not productive to our visibility and our representation and our inclusion. So I think we take it case by case, and we tend to trust our gut. We tend to trust our brains. We'll bring on some consultants to if we're not in the know about certain things, we'll bring on some consultants who are very well rooted in those communities, and we'll ask them specifically, like, hey, what do you think about this? And so we'll take that into consideration.
I love that you're very true to your intention, because I always feel that one can never go astray when that intention is there, and that purity. So we talked about over 2 decades in this industry and working on different projects. But
Uh,
when it comes to the representation of Asian Pacific Americans in the media, how do you feel that's evolved over the past decade? And what role has Tremendous played in that change? I mean, was there a particular film project or a campaign that stands out to you?
I mean, there's been a lot of really great projects, but I always felt that before we're always typecasted into a certain Asian American trope or role. Whereas, those were very culture forward. And now I'm seeing a lot of roles built with API perspectives in mind, but they're more human forward, right? They're more telling of our narrative, our diaspora, our day-to-day human experiences. And, for example, like a movie does not have to have a bunch of Asians in it for me to like it. I also like comedy. I also like, well, I don't like horror, but like
Same. I'm not a
I,
horror
I
person.
can't, but that doesn't mean that I won't go out to buy a ticket. And so I think
Right.
that definitely is the shift now, in that, yes, we are still a very important multicultural community. But that's not how we're treated anymore, essentially. And that's not how we're portrayed anymore. We're portrayed as very nuanced, very multi-layered people. And then just so happens to, have some really great banh mi, or some Filipino, and then it's culture, right?
Right. Right.
Which I think should be celebrated. But yeah, I think there's been a lot of shift there, and I'm hoping that continues. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once is a really good example of that. They blended a lot of our immigrant experience and our multi-generational experiences with this very human experience that everybody can relate to, that everybody could show up and feel emotional for Michelle Yeoh's character and really
Mhm.
empathize with her, because even though that they're not part of that culture, for example, like there's still that universal connection that happens. And that's what I absolutely loved about that movie. I mean, it's like right here, right? So like, it was so layered in many, many ways. And I think that's a good example of what I'm trying to describe.
Yeah, it was very multifaceted too, right? Where like you're saying, you don't have to be Asian American. And I have to point out, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think I really just appreciated her along the entire campaign too,
Agreed.
during award season, because she was such a champion. And it's not like she's obligated to do that, or maybe she's doing that for
No.
the cameras, but it was this really genuine love and feel for Michelle and even the film and the cast. And that really spoke to me too. It was just, it was heartwarming to watch that for me as well.
See, that is a good ally. Jamie Lee Curtis
Oh
is a
yeah.
wonderful ally, and I absolutely love that. And I agree. You saw it in her reactions when her co-stars won. Like when Michelle Yeoh won the Oscar, you saw her genuine like love for her and the project. And yeah,
It
that
wasn't lip
was
service, and I
no,
think that's
no,
where we have to get
yeah.
past, where you're just not checking off a box. So I think
Yeah.
that was really great to see. I'm
Hmm.
excited to talk to you too about your producer hat, because of course I've
Yeah.
seen you at Tremendous Communications and the leader that you are. But tell us a little bit about your experience as a producer working on films like Yellow Rose. What initially attracted you to this project? And for the audience who may have not seen the film yet, could you give us a brief overview of the film?
Yeah, well, so I've co-produced two films and one Broadway show. One of them is Yellow Rose, which is how do I say this? It is about an undocumented Filipino American young adult in Austin who wants to be a country music star and is also trying to navigate through being undocumented and dealing with her immigration status. So so again, very nuanced and something very new that you probably haven't ever seen from like a
Mm-mm.
Filipino American story. And so that one stars Eva Noblezada from Hadestown, Miss Saigon, very, very talented Broadway star. And also Disney legend Lea Salonga is in it. So so it's wonderful. Please watch it. The second one is Lingua Franca. That is about an undocumented Filipina caregiver who lives in Coney Island who tries to marry for a green card. So that one's more serious. That one's more demure. but it's both are very great watches, and it was very, I felt very lucky and privileged because both actually found distribution deals.
Amazing. We know that could
So
be challenging.
yeah, yeah. So the Yellow Rose was actually acquired by Sony Pictures because we did so well in both press and film festivals, and it was distributed wide across many, like I want to say like 600 plus theaters across the U.S. And then Lingua Franca was acquired by Ava DuVernay's company Array, and that was
Amazing.
distributed on Netflix. And so, yeah, very very lucky. And then Here Lies Love was my first Broadway venture or Broadway
Ooh.
producing journey and adventure. It's not going to be the last one. I can't say details yet, but that one was very near and dear to my heart because
Okay.
it is the first all Filipino cast ever on Broadway. And,
Amazing.
I wish it could have lasted much longer, but I think it made its impact. And I'm hoping that at least that helps open more doors for these stories on Broadway.
Absolutely. And hopefully for more to come. We got to do a Bollywood one, Jeremiah.
I'm down. I heard you were such a talented Bollywood dancer.
Well, we'll keep that for the stage then.
Okay, you will be the star of this. I will be there when you accept your Tony. How's
Thank you,
that?
but I can't sing, Jeremiah, so I don't know how that's going to work. Or as Bollywood does it, you have a playback singer for me. That
Well,
won't
I
work on
mean, it
Broadway.
can just be all dance then.
Okay,
Like
yes.
that's fine.
Yes,
Okay,
we'll do
yeah.
that.
Well, sorry. So to add to your question, I think before, so I've been working in marketing in entertainment for a while, and so I didn't realize, and I was very, I felt very defeated sometimes because there were some projects where I had to work on, but it didn't quite represent us in the best ways, or it
Ah,
didn't have, and so this was my journey, right? This was my journey of like, well, there could be more. And I didn't realize for a long time that I could step out of just doing marketing or just promotion and actually help to create these stories myself as a producer, like, or a co-producer, or whatever it is. And so when I found out about Yellow Rose and Lingua Franca and all these really great opportunities, um, all these skills as a producer was interesting because I realized that I had been producing for the majority of my career as a marketer. So, like,
mhm.
balancing budgets, figuring out casting for like videos, or like reviewing scripts or providing creative feedback. And, the only thing was just the raising of the money. But it was interesting because I never realized that one, I already had those skills, and two, I didn't realize that that was an option for me. So once this happened, it just snowballed into a lot more things, and I feel very lucky to have been part of these two projects because that really was the start of a lot of things for me.
And I thank you for sharing that, Jeremiah, because I don't think a lot of people may have known that about you. And on top of that, I think it just even opens the doors to other people recognizing that you don't have to just be limited in one space.
Hmm.
Especially right now, we live in such a world where we have different opportunities that we can offer different skill sets. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that just helps inspire other people who are listening to us. And
Thank
speaking
you.
of skills and social media and digital and all this, with the rise of digital and social media, how has the PR landscape changed in your opinion? And what strategies have you employed to adapt to these changes?
Well, there's a lot more to worry about. Like, it's
More
not
stress?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just pitching to journalists now. It's also trying to figure out, yes, can my talent be part of your show, or can you like interview with them? But now it's like, okay, can you do this? And also, can we like strategize some social content? How do we digitize a red carpet? Like, how do we? It's more stress, but quite frankly, it's a lot of fun. And like I said before, my background actually is in marketing, and like brand marketing and digital marketing. So that's where I came from. So I was a marketing strategist longer than I had been in PR. And so I think that actually was that actually helped me a lot more, because then I'm able to really strategize and figure out how to identify and develop campaigns that will actually hopefully help move the needle in terms of visibility for these projects, and not just doing things because they're cool to do, which is
I
also
love
fine.
that.
But I think with the rise of digital, it's more like it's interesting because a lot of people say that they're experts in something, and that could be true, but also I feel like you're always consistently learning. You're always consistently trying to figure out what the next thing is. If there's a new social media platform, like, okay, let's sit down for a few hours and see how we can incorporate that. And like, oh, like there's a new, so it's stressful, but it's exciting. I feel like it nothing gets old, because things
Yeah.
are developing so quickly, and so you have to develop too. And so like I'm taking it upon myself to, while I'm already in this position of leadership and I've been in this industry for a while, I'm also trying to figure out how to better myself both intellectually and as a person. So I have not told anybody this, but I enrolled in Harvard Business School to get a certificate in negotiation. And so,
Really?
yeah,
Congratulations. Ooh, I'm
thank
getting the
you.
exclusive on this.
I
That's
I yeah,
wonderful.
I start next month, and it's a part-time thing, but I always, I'm trying to identify these things that, I need for the future in order to keep up with everything. So,
And
yeah,
it's
that's
constantly learning and evolving. I love that.
yeah,
Congrats to you. Congratulations on that.
thank you.
Well, as we look ahead, what are your hopes and goals for Tremendous Communications and the broader media landscape in terms of diversity, representation? What do you want to create?
World domination.
I
No, I want
love
to
it.
keep, yeah, just let's build together. I
I'm
want
happy to do that.
to I want to keep, well, yeah. So, like, with that said, I want to keep building trust across entertainment, but also different industries. I feel like, entertainment specifically, yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but there's a lot of work to be done everywhere. So I think eventually I would love to expand more, as you do, and really identify these things that could use our knowledge and our perspective, because representation doesn't just stop at a movie theater,
No.
right? So
And we know that. I mean, it goes beyond that, and so at so many levels, and I think we're seeing that all across in various industries.
yeah,
So I've got a fun little question here that I wanted to end with. But anything else
yeah.
you'd like to share with us, or what you're excited about?
Well, I'm excited to. I mean, the future of Tremendous is really bright. I mean, I am hoping that we have an office space in the next year. Like, we are a company born out of the pandemic, so we're all remote. But it's when you are a startup, just having your own space, it's a feeling, right? It's one of those things where it's like, okay, we've made it. Like, we've made it. We have our logo on a wall. So I think there's a lot to look forward to. So I'm really excited. We have a lot of really great projects coming out. We're working
Amazing.
on Interior Chinatown with Hulu, which is really, really great.
Ooh.
And we're working on Smile 2 with Paramount Pictures. And I said earlier that I wasn't a horror movie fan, but
Well, you never know,
like,
right?
I mean, I am a fan of Paramount, but I told them, I was like, okay, we'll do a really, really great job, but I might have to close my eyes throughout the whole
That one looks really
the whole thing.
scary, by the way.
Yeah, look, Naomi Scott is gonna she's gonna be really great in it. So
I think so too. I think so too. Well, I'm excited for you too. I think a lot of new things on the horizon, and it's just constant growth and creation. So thank you for that. And
thank you.
let me ask you, if you could collaborate with any artist, past or present, They can be Filipino, Filipina, or they don't have to be. Who would it be and why?
Oh, that's tough. Let's see. Can it be more than one?
One.
One. Okay.
One. You get one.
I want to work with the Filipino megastar, Sharon Cuneta. Do you know her?
I've heard of her.
She is amazing. I was supposed to work on with her on this series that I was developing, but it didn't quite pan out, and so I wasn't able to meet her yet. So that I'm waiting.
Okay.
But I've been a fan of her since the '80s. She is our I don't even. I want to say she's our Mariah Carey.
Oh, well, let's manifest that for you.
Like,
Aw.
you know, she is a talented singer, a talented actress. So, yeah.
Well, that's fun. Okay, we're going to manifest that for you. Jeremiah,
thank you.
where can our community find you? On social media and the website?
You can find Tremendous Communications on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, tremendous_com, COMM. We're at tremenduspr.com, and you can find me at Jer Abraham, also on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. And before I close out here, I do want to add, there's also a podcast that you have, and Tremendous was recognized by Variety in the top 8, correct? PR8
Yes.
market.
Yes. So this past May, I was included in Variety's 8 APIs up next in entertainment. So out of all the Asian Americans in entertainment, they chose 8 of them, and I was one of them. So I felt very, very honored to have been selected. And so that was such a great experience. Jazz from Variety has been a wonderful, wonderful advocate for all of us.
Oh.
And yes, to your point, we do have a podcast. It's called Tremendous Talks. That's hosted by Ashley Rapaleno Sanchez and La Sharma. So, you know, we have guests across different aspects of entertainment, across the industry. We have writers, directors, actors. Really, really great. You can listen to it on Spotify. It's like the 2 hosts have such a really great dynamic and really great energy. So
love it.
Yeah,
they're fun to watch. Well, Jeremiah, thank you so much for joining us. Again, Jeremiah Abram from Tremendous Communications. And thank you for making the time, because clearly your hands are very, very full and you're a busy person. And once again, I just want to remind all of you that are watching or listening to us that we'd love to hear from you. So if you have any ideas, any questions, any topics that you'd like to hear about, do let us know about that. And do not forget to subscribe to our program on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on Facebook, Twitter X, Instagram, and of course, our YouTube page. Also, a reminder, Asian Pacific Voices Radio is produced by Asian Culture and Media Alliance, a nonprofit that empowers Asian Pacific American communities with a voice through media arts. If you'd like to support us and our program, please do visit us at AsianPacificVoicesRadio.com. Once again, I'm Rasha Goel. Thank you so much for joining me today, and do continue to join us every week for another thought-provoking episode. We'll see you next week.